American Jews feel less safe than at any time in recent memory, with a string of deadly attacks and seemingly endless physical and verbal assaults taking place. An organisation that gives volunteers the tools to protect Jewish institutions around America now has a new CEO. Former Anti-Defamation League staffer Evan Bernstein witnessed firsthand the horrors of anti-Semitic murders in America's Northeast. And his first hours on the job with Community Security Service, Bernstein sat down with I-24 News senior US correspondent Mike Wagenheim. Let's listen.
Well, certainly, being on the ground when I was at the ADL as an executive there for 7 years and seeing the rise in real time of anti-Semitism and the number of attacks and assaults and even murder, being there on the ground for the Jersey City shootings and then being there shortly after the stabbings in Muncie and being with Rabbi Rottenberg in the shul right after his son was stabbed and 4 others, one ultimately passing away. Clearly what's going on in the Jewish community and what's gone on has led to a moment in time where we need to start empowering the Jewish community more than ever around their own personal security. For years, for decades, in other Jewish communities around the globe, Jews have taken ownership over their security and have not fully relied just on law enforcement or private security. They've led in their security efforts and initiatives. We need to start doing the same here. We need to start being empowered as a group and being able to do everything in our power to be the frontline first defense for our institutions and for our communities.
How do you go about building a nationwide volunteer force like it seems the Jewish community in America needs right now?
I think it's going to it's a grassroots effort. I think the fact that CSS has been around since 2007 and founded by Adam Sager and David Dobchak, who had the vision, it's been very grassroots related right now, and they've had tremendous success. And I think now it's time to professionalize and scale this organization. That's why I was brought in, and that's why we have some amazing new board members and funders in order to scale this. And I think it's going to have to be going community to community, showing the value of our training, and then showing the value of those physical security teams that are trained by CSS and that are CSS-led teams on the ground that are going to be the first line of preventative, security details that will help thwart any attacks that are coming or potential attacks that are coming. And I think it's critical that every community right now understands that their role needs to be stepped up when it comes to security. It's not just about, thinking about it. It's actually about doing something, and it needs to be done by the congregants themselves. We as a community need to take ownership. And the way to do that is through having conversations. I think we need to be able to have more and more conversations with, communities, whether it's the Orthodox community, the conservative community, the Reform community, with their leadership, so they start understanding the importance of physical security in the sense of having volunteers from their congregation leading the way. So there's real ownership at the grassroots level, at the shul level, in the communal level, not just fully relying on law enforcement or private security.
Security in Israel, in our home base, looks a lot different than what the physical security you're talking about in America. So what exactly are you talking about when you say physical security for Jewish institutions in America?
I think it's about getting teams of volunteers that are very highly trained to be able to have those teams stand point during Shabbos, during the holidays, when there's simchas, to be able to be that frontline defense, to be able to be that preventative group that's there. That's a lot of times when we've talked to law enforcement, and I know one of the biggest things when people are looking to do something to an institution, they're looking at and evaluating those targets. And if they see people out there with their jackets on, with their earpieces, knowing that that institution is being secured by a group that's been trained, they may go to the next institution. And I think that is what is so critical about this, is we want to do as much preventative work as possible before an attack happens. And I think by that ownership and developing those teams, so it doesn't get to a place where law enforcement has to be called, or God forbid, someone's in the synagogue, what we saw in Poway, or we saw in Pittsburgh. We want to get to a place where that has been prevented. And I think one of the best ways that we know to do that is by having security details out in front, and to have volunteer teams that are owning it, because it's their community, it's their congregation. We feel is one of the best ways to do that, and empowering the Jewish community to do that.